This is Lou Uhrich of LouEats.com, and I'm kicking it with Doree.
Let's kick it! Welcome to the Kicking It with Doree show. I'm your host, Doree Allen Nieves, and today on my show we have Lou Uhrich from LouEats.com. Lou is a certified eating psychology coach, body image mentor, and life coach who helps women to grow in self-awareness, find food freedom, and practice body love. She specializes in guiding her clients to overcome struggles with yo-yo dieting, food restriction, binge eating, loss of periods, shame, body hate, and other unwanted symptoms, mindsets, and behaviors. Through her one-on-one coaching program and online courses, Lou teaches participants to end the exhausting hustle for food and body perfection by finding out who they really are, what they truly want, and how to finally get it. Welcome to the show, Lou.
Thanks, Doree. I'm so glad to be here.
I am too, because this is something that, is our theme at Kicking It with Doree this month is, about women and our health and just learning to love themselves, their bodies. Everything that we're talking about today, you and I, is going to help people to kind of get free, really get free, get unstuck from some of the mental anguish that comes with dieting and, self-loathing, body hate, all the things that I just mentioned in your intro.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the work that I do every day with countless women, and it's something that I feel really strongly about. So I'm so glad that you are showcasing it on your podcast.
Sometimes it can be a lifelong struggle for a woman to learn to love her body. And there's something on your website that I really was like, oh my gosh, I've got to read this little tiny excerpt from it. So it says, "You and I both know that your dreams won't come true on the treadmill and they can't be built in the kitchen. Happiness isn't waiting for you on the other side of six-pack abs. It's waiting for you to stop waiting to live the life you love." I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, and what people usually wait on is a change in their size, a change in their weight, perfection with eating or dieting, whatever that looks like to them. They wait and they wait and they wait to be perfect or to do it right or to stay on that wagon, and their life passes by while they are so obsessed with food and body. I see it all the time.
For sure. And that's something that's really going on a lot now because it's January. And of course, one of the big themes of January is dieting. And I've tried so many different ways of eating. I've tried, going low carb, no carb, high protein. Right now I'm not eating much meat, almost no meat. There's all these different kinds of lifestyles and ways of eating. And I don't think that most of them are inherently wrong. But I think what we're talking about here is hopscotching from one thing to the other, trying to find something that fits you and getting frustrated, and it just becomes a really, really crazy cycle. So I first want to start talking with you about chronic dieting and what it does to us mentally and physically.
Yeah, sure. I will say, I agree with you. I don't think any one way of eating is wrong. I just don't think that there's any one way of eating that fits everybody or everybody. So having one set way of eating is what we hear a lot when it comes to diet culture and diet industry. They try to sell you on a particular calorie count, on a particular macronutrient ratio, on a particular way of eating in terms of like no meat or all meat or no carbs or all the carbs or no fat or high fat. There's so many different ways of eating that people think is like, the have all, be all, the key, the ticket to being free or being healthy or having the body or the life that they want. And the truth is, the right way of eating for you is the way of eating that helps you to feel and function your best in relationship with and compassion and kindness to your body. So that way of eating doesn't need to look like something that somebody else has prescribed. It doesn't need to look like something that someone else is, to be quite honest, marketing and making money off of your insecurities and your lack of self-trust, your lack of turning towards yourself, right? So it's when we turn towards other people to be the gurus, to be the wise ones, to be the voice of reason and wisdom in our lives, instead of going to our bodies that are so smart and know us better than anyone else, right? Our bodies are the things that stay with us on this life. And if our body goes, we go, at least here in this earthly life. And so obviously our bodies know us best. We know our bodies best. But for so many of us, we get caught in this diet trap of looking to outside resources, gurus, fitness experts, trainers, coaches, whoever they are, to tell us the right way to eat, the right way of being in or with our bodies when we have access to all that power, all that wisdom within ourselves. And so that's what I coach women around so often, is to get to know themselves, to be reacquainted with who they are, and to be at home in their bodies so that they can trust their bodies to guide them to whatever way of eating makes sense for them to feel and function the way they want to feel and function, and not feel like they have to stick to it for any certain amount of time, but to continue to use the body to guide them for however long it takes, or what needs to change or what needs to shift in order, again, for them to continue to feel and function their best. Because a lot of people feel great on diets, but there's a biological reason why a lot of people feel great on diets at first. It's actually a stress to the body. And when our body is originally stressed, it's going to pump hormones that are going to make us feel good, that are going to end cravings, that are going to get us good energy and good sleep so that we can go out and find food. Because our body wants food, our body wants nourishment, our body wants pleasure. So it makes us feel good so that we can go and get what we need. But when we double down on the dieting, eventually that same diet is going to make us feel bad, and we're going to have physiological symptoms, which is what, back to your question, what perpetuates the chronic dieting cycle. Because eventually when we have those symptoms, some of those symptoms might look like being tired, being extremely hungry, being fixated on food, binge eating. It could look like, restriction and loss of periods. It could look like symptoms related to headaches or night sweats or hormonal imbalances. But a lot of them are going to make us feel pretty crazy around food. A lot of them are going to make us feel like it's all we can think about, or that we're failing, or we're falling off the wagon. And so when we do that, we go, oh, I must be wrong. I need more willpower. I'm the problem here. And we go back on the diet, never actually taking a look at the way of eating that we have chosen, at a diet that someone's prescribed for us, and going, maybe the dieting is the problem and not me. And so that's what perpetuates chronic dieting, is this idea that we need to be fixed, and someone knows how to fix us with food. And so we go and try to do it, and inevitably our physiology will fight back. There's a theory called the set point weight theory. It's a well-known theory, the set point weight theory, which is that your body has a weight within 10-ish pounds up and down that it generally feels really good and functions really well at. And so despite your best efforts, your body is going to try to maintain that general weight. It's going to try to stay there because that's when everything is operating in all cylinders and feeling really good and working really well. And that's when hormones are functioning well and metabolism is on fire. And so your body will try to stay in that place to keep you healthy. And when you try to forcefully lose weight or change that set point, your body actually will fight back by, eventually increasing hunger or pulling out other stops so that you eat more. And really, because it's afraid it'll happen again, you usually gain back the weight you lost plus more from dieting. And that's scientifically proven. What 95% of dieters gain back the weight they lost plus some, at least within 2 to 5 years. So dieting isn't even actually a permanent way to lose weight, because our body inevitably fights back against it because it cares about us, because it makes us feel well. But we go, oh no, I've failed. I've done something wrong. I don't have the willpower. I have to try harder. I can do better. I can double down. I can eat even less. I can work out even harder. And that's the chronic dieting cycle.
Yeah, that's so detrimental. And I mean, you're right. Marketing really does play on that psychology and the confusion that we have with all of the different diets. I mean, I love Dr. Oz as a person, but watching that show, if you watch that show for just 1 week, you will be so confused about all the different things going on and all the contradictory, like you said, the macronutrients and all those different things. It's so confusing. And also that helps perpetuate us to feel like we can't trust ourselves and trust our bodies, because we've got all this information that we are allowing to come at us. And a lot of it is marketing, but some of it is us just, like you said, searching for something outside of ourselves. And that mentality that we need to be fixed, which I love when you said that. That was so, so true. And so that leads me into the next thing that I wanted to ask you about. It's regarding your blog that you wrote about maybe a year ago, where you used the analogy of a tree. You called it make like a tree, when it comes to thinking about your relationship with the food you eat and your own body, as the analogy is kind of like starting from the soil of a tree that's planted all the way out to the leaves when it's fully mature.
Yeah, sure. I think that this is a great thing to talk about because I usually see women, and most of us have usually at one time or another experienced, oh my goodness, why am I obsessing about food? Why is it the only thing I can think about? The constant comparing our bodies to others around us. The some people have lost their periods or their hormones have malfunctioned in one way or another. Some people just feel, like, why am I standing in front of the refrigerator with all the leftovers in my arms, eating it with my bare hands in the middle of the night? People have had those experiences where they feel just out of control around food, or they feel like, why don't I like myself? Why, no matter how hard do I try, is my body dissatisfying to me? Do I not like what I see? Why isn't this quote unquote working? Why don't I have the life that I want based on, these attempts to change my body and change my physiology? So I work with a lot of women who come to me at that point. And all of us in one way or another have probably experienced some sort of reaction, response, relationship to food and body like that, being dissatisfied, feeling out of control around food, wanting to find the quote unquote perfect diet and stick with it forever, thinking we don't have willpower, and having even like real physical symptoms of hormonal imbalance or something else. And those, I'm going to jump to the end actually of this whole analogy and say those are the fruit, those are the leaves, but so often the fruit and the leaves are where people pay their attention, just like a tree, right? We're like, oh, okay, this is an orange tree. This is an apple tree. We know a tree by its fruit. We know a maple or an oak by its leaves. And that's where a lot of the attention goes. So often when I am working with women who are like feeling at their wits' end, feeling tired and exhausted of dieting and never getting right, of trying and feeling like they go 2 steps forward and 10 steps back, it's the fruit, it's the symptoms that they are frustrated with. And it's the symptoms and the fruit, the behavior, the outcomes that they're trying to fix. When the truth is, all of this goes so much deeper. So again, yeah, that analogy of the tree, if you look at the soil, we go back to the very beginning. While people are trying to fix the fruit at the fruit, there's actually a place much deeper and much wider where a lot of the problems begin, and that's in the soil. So the soil, when I use this analogy for our food and body relationship, I say that is our environment. That's the place. It's our culture, which we've already talked about a little bit, Doree, with media and marketing and the obsession with female thinness and the beauty ideal. So that's part of it, our culture, but also our home environment, our family, our local communities, the people we're around, the people that we most maybe looked up to, or our caretakers in life. Those places, those spaces where we developed our ideas about food and body, whether it was positive or negative. So that's like the soil. And that is really where this all begins, is that environment, that culture. And underneath it, within the soil, are the roots. And these, I would say, are like our beliefs about food and body. That is where, from our culture, from our environment, from the people that we were around, our family and friends, our community, we begin to adopt those beliefs about food, about body, and about ourselves, and the way we relate to food and the way we are in our bodies. And those can be beliefs like, I must be pretty and perfect. A woman's appearance is the most important thing about her. When you lose weight, you will be happy and find a partner. Life can't be controlled, but food can. To eat clean or to limit calories proves willpower or proves righteousness and goodness, because so often people equate like dieting or losing weight with something good. I mean, never mind if the person who lost weight like actually just got a cancer diagnosis. Someone's inevitably going to walk up to them and be like, oh, you lost weight, you look so good. So we get those ideas then from our culture, from those experiences of like, oh, my righteousness, my goodness is in weight loss. Fat equals unhealthy, which is something we hear all the time, which actually isn't true. Certainly isn't always true, but there's a lot of reasons behind that as well. I'm unworthy of love. If I'm not thin, I'm not enough, or I'm too much. These are the sort of ideas that we have that are like those underlying roots, things that people can't see, but they're the beliefs that we have about ourselves, about food, and about body. And they do inevitably rise to the surface and get represented. And that is what, if I'm keeping with this analogy of the tree, would be the trunk. And the trunk is our outward representation of those beliefs and those understandings and those ideas that I just talked about. And that's where we can get really into food and fitness moralism. It's where we can connect with certain rhetoric or outside influences, with certain outside influencers and people who are selling us weight loss, selling us shakes, selling us a diet or a fitness program that is in line with those underlying beliefs that we've already adopted from our culture, from our environment, from our family. So then we begin to have these do's and don'ts and these shoulds and shouldn'ts and these black and white thinking about food and about body. And that is kind of the trunk that then, of course, branches off into the real particular sorts of ways that we go about living out those beliefs and those ideas about food and body, a particular way of eating, a particular way of working out. That would be what are the branches. And the further we go on those branches, the more and more we put our energy into them, fruit will inevitably come and show up. And so that gives you that whole analogy of the tree, but the fruit isn't always great. The fruit isn't always juicy and fresh and perfect the way we want it to be. Sometimes there's a fruit that's diseased or that has, an insect problem, or in one way or another isn't what we thought it would be or could be. Same with leaves. And that's when we look at a tree and go, there's something wrong with that tree. And we're identifying that there must be something wrong with the tree based on the fruit. And now this is where the analogy kind of loses a little bit of its luster for me, because I certainly never think there is something wrong with a person because they're having symptoms of dieting. But if we go back to the culture, to that soil, I do think that this is a social justice issue, actually. Fat phobia, sizeism, food perfectionism ends up being another one of those places and spaces where people are marginalized and oppressed, just like racism or ageism or sexism. And so again, that comes back to the culture, but there are so many personal implications in it as well, that when somebody comes to me with the fruit of their food and fitness relationship and their food and body relationship, I will work with them to go to those deeper places and spaces like the culture, like their environment, like their family and their upbringing and the beliefs that they've adopted from that, as well as then the easy connection that they've then made to diet culture as we know it today, and to those particular diets or ways of moving and potentially abusing their body that they've thought they needed to comply with in order to be accepted or in order to be enough or good or whatever it is that they're trying to attain.
Yeah, that now you guys understand why I wanted Lou to explain the analogy to make like a tree, because it is so profound the way she breaks down each piece of it. And it is in the blog at lueats.com/blog. If you want to check it out, it was in December of 2016. That is marvelous. It really breaks everything down. I think it's amazing to understand why, and how we're kind of being a bit bamboozled, whether we're doing it to ourselves or we're allowing other people to do it. And so we definitely see that we need to understand how we can make peace with ourselves, with our bodies, and with, our way of eating. And let's talk about how we can do that. Some high level, steps of doing that, and what are the benefits of making peace with food?
Yeah, I mean, most people know what it feels like to be in a funk about food and body, to feel like they're not even really present in a situation, a relationship, an event, because they're so worried about like, oh my goodness, I've eaten too many scallops wrapped in bacon, or like I've had one too many glasses of champagne, or I shouldn't really eat dessert, or oh, look at her, she looks way better in her dress than I do. Like a lot of people are going to find those sort of experiences so familiar. And I'm going to start kind of with the end of your question here and say the benefits of getting beyond this obsession, getting beyond the diet obsession and yo-yo dieting and constantly thinking that we need to find a way to fix our food intake in order to fix ourselves, to fix our lives. And really that separation we're having from connection with our bodies, that just leads to so much distraction. And so the benefits, of course, then would be that we have more time to do the things we really want to do. We have more energy and more space in our lives to focus on things besides our plates. It is so exciting for me when clients who came to me and were like charting every calorie, writing down all of their macronutrient ratios, constantly planning and thinking ahead of when they were going to exercise and for how long and what they were going to do and why. And they get to the end of like a mentorship and they have so much free brain space and they're doing things that they kept waiting and waiting and waiting to do. So one of the biggest benefits of overcoming diet mentality and overcoming body hate and body rejection is the fact that you can actually get into your life and start living it instead of waiting to live until you fix yourself, until you get smaller, until you're more fit, until you reach this weight or this size or perfect that diet. The biggest benefit is that we can live our lives now while we have them and while we're in them, because so many of us know for so many reasons that life is fleeting, it is short, it is unpredictable, it is uncertain, and we get surprised all the time by what happens in life, either to us or to people that we love. And so we can't guarantee that we're going to have tomorrow or next week or next month, and yet so many of us wait for tomorrow, next week, or next month to really start living because we think we have to have the perfect body or the perfect diet in order to do it. So honestly, the best benefit of all of this stuff, of doing this work and overcoming dieting and body hate, is the fact that you free yourself to live your life right now and to be joyful right now and to stop waiting on that supposed perfection to be able to do the things you really want to do and to have the passion that you really want to have. And as far as I know, the beginning of your question was like, okay, but how, and that's a little harder. That's much more complicated, of course. And I work with women for at least 6 months at a time on a very individual level. But on a broad level, the how is, first of all, kind of calling bullshit on capitalism and marketing and society when it comes to this diet thing. I mean, dieting is a $60 to $90 billion industry for a reason. And a lot of the reason is, they make their money off of repeat customers. Now, if we really stop and think about this, if there was a diet that actually worked, everyone would be on it and dieting would become obsolete because no one would need all these other diets and they wouldn't need to do this diet over again because it would work. But diets actually don't work. The product is so failed. If any other product failed as many times as dieting failed, they would no longer be in business. But with dieting, diet culture, capitalism is so tricky. They've made us humans think that we are the ones who've done wrong. We have lacked the willpower. We failed the diet. We messed up. We're the broken ones. We're the ones who are too lazy or too busy or too this or too that to follow the diet well, instead of going, hey, actually dieting's flawed, which science has since proven. Like dieting doesn't work. It's not proven to help people lose weight long term. And there could be a whole other show that you and I do on the idea that weight loss is positive anyway, because there's a lot of propaganda and a lot of science that does not actually support the idea that weight loss equals health or that gaining weight is unhealthy. So, but we believe that, and that's something that I think is so important to working through our own very personal issues with overcoming dieting and body hate. Is we have to look at the greater culture. We have to look at the collective ideas and implications and understandings around weight and body, particularly women's bodies, and call bullshit on it. Start digging a little bit deeper. The truth is that the beauty ideal for women in terms of our size and our stature and our features has gotten smaller and smaller the more rights that women have gained in society. So when we get the right to vote, when we have, when we're working towards equal pay, right? I mean, we're not there yet. And certainly if you're a person of color, as a woman, you're not even as close as white women are to closing in on that pay gap and that wage gap. But still, as we get closer, the beauty ideal gets smaller and smaller. It's a way to to oppress. It's a way to distract. It's a way to keep us so contained within ourselves and having to be perfect before we can bring our gifts and our pleasure and our passion and our insights and our wisdom to the world. It's just another form of masked oppression for people, for women in particular. And so looking at that is really important to overcoming it, seeing the bigger picture of the game that we're playing in here and how we're being used as pawns and tools against ourselves, really, how dieting and fitness obsession is being used against ourselves, and how all of these industries are banking on our insecurities. They're selling us things off of first telling us that we're wrong. And they're taking us away from ourselves and connection to our truth and our intuition and that deeper inner knowing that we are inherently worthy and that we're enough just the way we are and that we can be trusted and our bodies can be trusted. I mean, you look at a baby, I often will share this as well, but like if you think of a baby, they are super intuitive eaters. They love their bodies. And when they look in a mirror, they are so happy. They're giggling. I've never seen a baby like cry when it looks in a mirror. It's like, yes, that's me. I love it. And not only that, but they think about when a baby is hungry, they cry. And when they're finished eating breast, bottle, whatever it is, they turn their head away. You mean you can't force a baby to suck who's done sucking. Like when they're finished eating, they are done. They're super intuitive about nourishing themselves. They're very, very primal in that sense. And they also just love their bodies and are happy to be existing in a body. And as we get older and we're experiencing culture and the messaging and the marketing that happens, we begin to lose touch with that very innate, real connection that we have to our bodies. So getting back to that is super important, and seeing how we've lost it in the general sense is really important, but also just stopping all the rules and stopping the shame and guilt around those rules. So I can't eat carbs, let's say, is a rule. And then we eat the carbs and we feel like crap and we're like, well, screw it. I already ate a slice of bread. So now I might as well have pizza and all the cookies and whatever. I'll just start again tomorrow. Like how many times have people who are listening been like, well, I'll just start again tomorrow. Or this is my cheat day that turns into a cheat weekend that turns into, we don't have to cheat because we don't have to follow any of these rules. Like we just don't have to. We can really alleviate the pressure, the pain, the self-rejection of creating these parameters around which we are good or bad, but righteous or not, on or off the wagon with. So getting rid of the rules is certainly another way to overcome diet culture and diet mentality. But then too, just to really dive into our lives and our passions and the things that make us come alive. Because I don't know anybody who puts dieting on the list of things that makes them happy and come alive.
Me neither.
Right. So the more we can fill our days, our lives, our minds, and our time with things that we enjoy and with passions that we want to pursue and people that we enjoy being around and who build us up, the more that we can invest in our lives instead of trying to invest in some sort of body manipulation or outcome for our physical form, it will just gradually push out that food and dieting obsession naturally, because we'll be so invested in our lives. We don't have time to pick apart our bodies. We don't have time to micromanage our food. It's something that our body can naturally handle on its own, and bodies have naturally handled on their own over time.
Yeah, if the priority really shifted to what true health is instead of just the outward appearance, because there's nothing wrong with wanting to present your best self and to look good. That's not necessarily like a big vain thing, like that's a sin or something. But to me, health is key. I've shared with you, Lou, and with many of my listeners that my husband is chronically ill. He has chronic pain and suffering all the time, and he's fairly young. And we just realize what's really, really important when we think about, like you said, doing things that really make us come alive, spending time with people that bring us joy, and thinking about the things in life that really matter. I think sometimes people have a warped sense of what is going to bring them happiness, like what happiness truly is. And, for a moment, it could be a pint of ice cream. It really could, like for that moment. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really not about the food. It's not. Who are the people that you love? Who are the people that matter the most to you? Who are the people that you matter the most to? They need you too. They need you to be well. And so, I think about that all the time now because there's so many different complications that he's going through. And it's just like, that's not something that you really think of when somebody is of a young age. My parents are much more healthy than my husband is. And they don't exercise or anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we have to change our definition of happiness and of health. And if the focus was really on health, which includes your mental health, I think that you would definitely make different lifestyle choices and not obsess with, updating everything in your app about, your calories or what you had or how many days did you work out this week or whatever. Like the obsession with it, I think is where it gets to be really unhealthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate what you said too, Doree, because the truth is dieting is stressful and fitness obsession is stressful. Now, eating food that we actually enjoy eating, that we're actually desiring, that our bodies are nourished and feel and function well on is great. But dieting because we're trying to manipulate our bodies or force our frame to be smaller, or because we think we need to comply with these outside rules and ideas about how we should eat and how we should be and show up in the world or look physically, is actually a stressor on the body. And that creates all of these hormones in the sympathetic nervous system, which is our stress response, the fight or flight or freeze, that actually trigger a lot of really negative body responses. So things like hormone malfunction and cortisol increasing, a lot of these stress responses that we know that science has proven again and again are not good for the body. Stress is not good for the body. Stress is not good for your health. And we've seen that again and again. And yet dieting and body hate and body rejection are so stressful. I also don't want to gloss over the point too of something else you said about like sometimes like a pint of ice cream is pleasurable. And I'm so glad you said that because it's exactly true. I will share with my clients, my friends, my followers, something that I learned from another really great voice in the industry that I'm in, Isabel Fox and Duke. And she recently made the connection between we don't just have sex to procreate, we do it for pleasure too. And food is the same way. We don't just eat food to fuel ourselves because that's kind of become this idea. We eat food for fuel, but food is pleasurable. Food is community. Food is connection. We're recording this around the holiday season. And for so many people, they will have, and people will be listening in January. So for so many people, they will have just had that experience where food is connection and community and family. It goes beyond simply being fuel, and making that okay is really helpful to making it less stressful.
For people who are listening, who have a goal of, you know what, I want to be healthier and I've been trying all these different diets to try to get healthier. I think if I get thinner or whatever, I'll be happier. Can you give us some ideas of goals that we can set that have nothing to do with dieting or with weight loss?
For goals to have around doing this would be, if you want to feel and function your best, I always think those are two great goals. And that's what I work on with my clients, feeling and functioning your best, because that includes nourishment, that includes nutrition and pleasure, that includes movement for sure. It doesn't mean it's probably not going to include boot camps that you don't even like going to and running yourself into the ground. You don't feel and function well when you're overworking to try to get to some numerical value or try to complete some goal that really doesn't help you exist in your life, that happiness and that health that you were talking about, Doree. So those things are really arbitrary, these number goals, these size goals. They don't say anything about health. And there's a great book out called Health at Every Size by Linda Bacon that I would definitely recommend as a resource for people who want to know a little bit more about the disconnect between weight gain and being unhealthy that so many people actually think is there. That's not. It's going to give you a lot of great insights, and it will be a great resource on ways to simply feel and function good in your body, and how much more beneficial that is approaching feel and function than, and those are my words, not Linda's, but her writing is along a similar vein. feel and function, approaching that is so much kinder, so much more compassionate, and so much less stressful on a body, which inevitably is going to help your health, not hinder it, to be unstressed when it comes to the way that you eat and to the way that you move your body. But goals like, I want to increase my flexibility, or, oh, I'd like to try to run a 5K, like even something like that, where it's not based on numbers besides 5K. But I mean, it's not based on your weight. It's not based on, maybe we're not even talking about time. We're not even talking about like having to win a 5K, but maybe just the idea of accomplishing a goal and working towards it and allowing the actual living out of that experience and the actual pursuit of that goal be where your reward is, instead of feeling like you have to attain it or somehow feeling guilty or ashamed if you don't. So if you set the goal to run a 5K, let's say, but you actually get halfway through 2.5 before you have to walk it. Well, look, you still ran 2.5 and you're walking, and you probably are doing it with friends or family or community event for a good cause. Most of these 5Ks we, join, and the money goes to some sort of charity or event or community. So there's so many rewards in doing something like that and setting a goal that does not in any way have to be based on numbers like weight or size. So even just getting the focus off of that, you can still have goals for your body. You can say, hey, you know what? I've been snoring at night. I'd really like to work through that and figure that out. Doesn't mean you have to say, I need to lose weight because I have to stop snoring. Instead, the goal can simply be the end goal. For so many of us, when we say that we want to be healthy, it usually means, well, there's two things. First of all, we're really scared of the fact that, we're mortal, and that death is something that is inevitable for all of us. So that's one reason why we concentrate so much on trying to be healthy. But like you said, Doree, I mean, there are marathon runners who can run a great marathon and then get the worst diagnosis of their life. There are people who are, fitness buffs doing amazing things, Olympians lifting huge weights, and later find out that they have a chronic illness or something that they couldn't prevent no matter how many weights they lifted or no matter how many miles they ran. Just like there are people who have amazing biomarkers who may be in fat bodies or don't look like those athletes that I just talked about. But for all intents and purposes, their bodies are working and functioning so well. So absolutely, the aesthetics and the size, the weight, the numbers aren't really helpful in us truly setting goals for our body that are going to make us feel well, function well, and bring joy and peace to our life. So I like to set goals around, like, I want to try 3 new physical activities this year, or I want to learn how to cook, maybe from a certain area. Like, I want to learn how to cook Italian food. I want to learn and we can take lessons and we can take classes and we can go to different events to learn how to do that. I want to broaden the way I want to get food from a CSA and learn how to cook all different sorts of produce in really great ways that my kids will enjoy or that I'll enjoy. Setting goals like that are more about experience and more about learning and engaging and connecting with your food or connecting with your body are really great. I want to climb this mountain. I want to do this relay with my friends. Setting goals that have to do with other people and then allow you to engage in relationships instead of making it simply about aesthetics and focusing on the body and size are really helpful goals to have. And you can also say, hey, I just want to learn how to eat intuitively and get done with dieting. That's a great goal. I want to learn how to accept my body. It's another really great goal. And I want to work through and gain tools to help me in a society that really does marginalize and oppress certain body types and sizes. That's something I don't want to gloss over either. And I don't want to forget to say, I'm sitting here having this conversation about, like, you shouldn't need to want to lose weight and it's not in the numbers. But the truth is, for people who are in fat or larger bodies, they are marginalized, they are oppressed, they are stigmatized. Fat phobia is real. Sizeism is real. This is another social justice issue. And so, of course, there is going to be that desire to be smaller because being smaller is social currency. It's absolutely there. But because we know dieting doesn't work, because we know that it's just will keep you upset and fixated and distracted and away from living the life that you're here to live, the only other way through is to really find tools and find the help that you might need and find the communities or partnerships that you could find to help you work through and face those sort of stigmatizations and experiences and not be alone while you're doing it. And remember that it's not you that needs to be fixed and it's not your body that's broken, but it's our culture, it's our society that is due for a change in the way that it views and treats certain people and certain bodies. We see this all the time. It's not just sizeism, but racism, ageism, sexism, all the isms. And so learning how to walk through that and having a support system is a really great goal. We can set so many goals around food and body that have more to do with our experience and living our lives than have to do with those numbers and those very arbitrary markers of our status or our compliance.
That's very, very well said. I'm not going to add anything to that. Please tell everyone how they can work with you so that they can help themselves get into healthier goals and the things that you just mentioned.
Yeah, sure. So I love working one-on-one with women. That's what I do. That's how I spend most of my time, is working with my one-on-one clients. And we do that over a period of 6 months at least, where we have coaching calls and regular emails and texts. And we can really work on the very specific reasons you are where you are and the very specific goals you have, dreams you have, visions for where you want to be in your life and in your relationship with food and body. And you can find all of the information about how to work with me at lueats.com. It's really easy, LUEATS.com. You can find everything there. I also have a free 5-day mini course that's going to give you some ideas on how to ditch dieting, befriend your body, and get on with your life. It's just 5 days. There's videos, there's emails, but it's going to give you that starter course to thinking and looking at things, at food and body in a new way, especially around this time of year when everyone's on a diet. Come February or March, I get a whole lot of clients because people have tried just one more diet and within 30 to 60 days, they're done. It hasn't worked. They feel defeated. They feel frustrated. And a lot of them say there's got to be a better way. So right now in January, get that head start on that better way. And you can grab my free course. I also have affirmations. I love affirmations. So there's a lot of freebies I have there. And again, you can find all of that at lueats.com. I'm also very active on Instagram. So that is lueats.com, all spelled out, is my Instagram handle. I do a lot of free mini education, mini teachings in the Instagram stories, and always have something to say every day within my posts, and love interaction and connection that way.
So we are going to link to all of these in the show notes. She's on Facebook, Instagram, and everything is linked up at lueats.com and kickingitwithdoree.com. Lou, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and really giving us this enlightening thing. You're right. We could actually have several more shows about this, just talking about the politics of all of this. And the things that we've shared here are very personal. They're very deep, but we can overcome these stigmas together. And so I want to reiterate something Lou said a little while ago, is that focus on being healthy and spending and enjoying time with the people that are positive, people that care about you, people that want the best for you, and leaving that negative stuff behind, because life is going to give us on its own enough to deal with that we don't have to bring it on ourselves.
Absolutely.
If you like this show, I'd love to have your support. Visit patreon.com/kickingitwithdoree, without the G, to learn more.